Well, good afternoon and welcome to Trinity University here for today's Saturday afternoon matchup with the Trinity University Tigers and the Babson Beavers. And a quick look there at the Babson starting lineup, and we'll get back to that in just a second as we are ready to go. And leading off will be Jack Perkle for Babson. And today's starter for the Tigers be Harrison DeRoe. So DeRoe versus Perkle as we are just underway here in San Antonio. Weren't sure if we were going to have a 2 o'clock start or not. They pulled the tarp probably about 30 minutes ago, did a quick in and out for each team, and decided let's get this in before the possibility of more, don't really want to call it rain. Joined here by Luke Terry. And Luke, you've been out there as well. It's not really rain, it's just a ton of mist. It's almost like a fog just sitting over the field at times.
Yeah, just as cold as it was yesterday, Josh, but you're exactly right. Definitely wet out there. Uncomfortable conditions for baseball, certainly, but if we're in store for anything compared to what we got last night, then it should be a good one here today between these two teams.
And that one's going to be popped up and shallow center, ranging back on it, and making the catch will be Jack Baker. Get another look at it. Just a high hanging pop fly. 2 outs now, and the batter at that time was Tanner Santos. So Perkle down on strikes, Santos down early, and we'll get that scoreboard corrected for me. That was the final for last night, 5-4. And looking in, taking strike one is your 3-hole hitter, Thomas Lapham. That one back up the middle, and that will have eyes into center field. And you can see some of the droplets already onto the camera. Just a weird mist, and as you see, that one's back up to the center field. So first hit of the day for Babson, and they've got Lapham on first as Josh Yellen steps in.
From that last shot and that replay, a little bit difficult to tell exactly what DeRoe was trying to do with that pitch right there, but in a situation where he's already up 0-1 and had a couple of good outcomes in the previous at-bats, have to feel like that one catches a little bit too much of the plate, especially against a 3-hole hitter for this Babson team.
2 down here in the top of the first inning as we try to connect the live stats here to the scoreboard. They're on your screen. Yellen, pair of hits yesterday, batting .500 on the season. Takes a big hack at that, and the throw back down to first and back quickly is Lapham. DeRoe on the mound for the Tigers, and Nicholas Lazara there for the Tigers behind the plate.
It's a couple of defensive changes that we've pointed out so far in this one. Obviously, Baker coming in at short as DeRoe lets that one get away from him just a little bit. Didn't have the release point that he wanted on that breaking ball, and that sneaks in and hits Yellen on that lead elbow. But Lazara again coming in to replace catcher in yesterday's action. Matt McNaney got the start for the Tigers at a position where they're lacking their typical starter. Tyler Pettit out with sickness this weekend after he got a couple of starts in the Tigers' opening week action out in Birmingham. DeRoe delivers that one, and this is just inside. After a quick start for the Tigers' second year, who comes in after his first season in which he threw 35 and a third innings, striking out 41 and posting a 4.84 ERA, making his second appearance on the year. Important for Dureau and the Tigers right here to be better tonight, or today, excuse me, in these scenarios where they've already recorded 2 outs. Obviously the strikeout and then the quick pop-up that barely left the infield. But now a couple runners on for Babson in a similar scenario or situation where they did most of their damage last night. All 5 of the Beavers' runs in yesterday's action coming with 2 outs against the Tiger pitching staff. Dureau back to work there, gets that pop-up that's going to drift towards the Tiger dugout. It looks like that one got out of play. Kylie will step back into the box, awaiting the pitch from Dureau. Looks like a little bit of a off-speed pitch right there. That breaking ball, either his curveball or slider, hanging up just a little bit. Saw that get called a strike a little bit in the game that we had last night. That fastball delivery misses low. Kylie in a good position against Dureau right here with a runner in scoring position already in the top of the first inning. Dureau deals, and that breaking ball is swung on and missed by Kylie, so it looks like the count will move to full here. 2 outs, the runners will be in motion for Babson. Dureau comes set. Kylie awaits the pitch. Another breaking ball just looked at by the Babson catcher. Talked about him last night. The reigning New England Women's and Men's Athletic Conference Newcomer of the Year. As the game progressed yesterday, Babson did a much better job in the later innings, working at bats, getting into deeper counts, and then ultimately really looking at and taking those breaking balls from the Tiger pitchers. Stepping in now is Sean Barichka, who moves up just 1 spot in this Babson lineup. Fouls that first pitch back.
Barichka didn't get a hit yesterday, but they expect big things out of him here in the 2022 season.
Yeah, and although he didn't leave yesterday's action with a hit, he did have as that one runs in from Dureau and hits him, and that will force in the first run of the game for the Beavers right here after a great start by Dureau on the mound to get 2 quick outs. The bases end up loaded for Babson, and that one runs in, hits Barichka, and all of a sudden the Beavers lead this one. But before that pitch, as we were saying, Barichka didn't end up with a hit in last night's action, but had a couple of really great at-bats. The first 3 of the game came against the Tiger starter, Corey Cater, who ultimately threw well over 100 pitches, but Barichka, in his at-bats, forced the Tiger starter to throw over 20 pitches. So doing his job to work counts as Dureau forces that one up in the air. Tiger center fielder comes in to make the catch, and Dureau, after getting into a little bit of a jam there in the top of the first, is able to get out of it.
Yeah, he gets Cook to fly out here, and Cook just getting underneath it, lifts it up, and coming in to make the play in center is going to be Ezra Gore, who led off the game yesterday for the Tigers, but will be batting cleanup. And we'll take a look at the Tigers starting lineup here, and we'll go to break with the Babson starting lineup just because we didn't get a chance to look at that one in depth when we got started here. So take a quick look at Babson And then we'll look at the Trinity lineup. And so, honestly, we pretty much saw most of the Babson lineup as they came to the plate. They batted 7 out of 9 with Perkle, Santos, Lapham, Yellen, Keeley, and Barichka and Cook. And then Brant Savage and Patrick Manning will lead off top of the second for us. Get a good look at Tim Noon on the mound, the lefty number 9 for the Beavers.
Yeah, not a whole lot of changes in that Babson lineup last night. Justin Guest was in the 6 hole batting as the DH. He went 0 for 4, so he'll exit the lineup today. Barichka moved up in that 6 hole, the only new face in the lineup for the Beavers today was Savage, but on the Tiger side of the ball, a lot of new faces. A couple mentioned defensively already in Baker and Lazara at short and catcher, respectively. But that top of the order, completely different today, as Baker will hit first. Colt Harris at second base will follow, and MJ Metz, hottest Tiger bat right now, moves up from that 4 spot. He'll hit third after a great showing last night where he went 3 for 4 and banged 2 doubles off that right field wall after we had said on our broadcast that we didn't think that anybody in this lineup in the game as a whole really had a chance to leave the yard. He almost did it twice going the other way.
And then, so that's still in the bottom half of the inning. And so we'll get started now with Baker as he fouls off the first pitch. And takes strike 2. No one's fouled out of play. So Noon coming in, finding the strike zone and working effectively. And that one's going to be put back up the middle, and it will be through for a base hit. So strong start for Tim Noon, but he's leaving it around the plate maybe just a little bit too much here, and that was an 0-2 pitch right over the middle, a little bit down, and Baker's able to go after it. And we'll have somebody aboard here for the Tigers after they gave up a run in the top half of the inning.
Yeah, and really the same issue that DeRoe ran into the third batter he faced the last inning. You said it exactly right, Josh. Just leaving the ball just a little bit too close to the plate, especially considering the fact that Baker in that leadoff hole was willing to swing the bat, fouled a couple off, but getting that ball in the same position too many times in a row, he finally put the barrel on it and sent it straight back where it came from.
That'll bring up Colt Harris, although they'll check Baker over at first. Harris batting 200 on the season. Like so many of the Tiger players, the team only batting 239 coming into this game through 4 games. And that's not necessarily where the team thought that they would be, but you've played 2, teams receiving votes, and that was Lynchburg and then, of course, Babson yesterday. Both of those were losses, but quite honestly, both of those 2 teams were strong teams last year. And, of course, Babson, last decade or so have been pretty strong. You expect them to be, somewhere ranked at least in the top 30 at any given point. And Trinity playing Wash U and Birmingham Southern, who have, I guess we'll call that preseason national rankings. So tough start to the year. You're going to face teams that have good pitching. So batting 239, not necessarily an indication of poor at-bats, as you see a good at-bat there for Colt Harris as he draws the walk.
Yeah, and for Noon here, a lot of really competitive pitches in this at-bat, including that last one. But when he fell behind, didn't want to feed anything too much over the heart of the plate. Exactly what got him in trouble in that first at-bat. But, Josh, you mentioned the fact that this is a Babson team that comes in receiving votes, and certainly has to be one that's a little bit difficult to gauge after last year, a year in which they lose 68% of their pitching. Difficult job for anyone in the country to really figure out what exactly they're bringing into this season, especially today, considering the fact they have Tim Noon on the mound, who comes in having not thrown at all last year, missing the entire 2021 campaign due to injury, and having made only one appearance in his college career, that coming back in 2019 here in San Antonio.
And you get a good look here at MJ Metz. Talk about team hitting 239, and most of that is probably due to the fact that MJ Metz is hitting 467, just absolutely killing it so far this year. 5 extra base hits, 4 doubles, and a home run for Metz so far. And a guy that when he came to campus a few years back, I just remember the coaches saying that they felt like MJ was one of those guys that when he finally put everything together, they felt like he was maybe one of the most talented packages that they had seen in a recruiting piece. And I know that the coaching staff is incredibly excited to see him with all the success that he's had early on here so far, because they feel like he can have this type of year all the way throughout. He's been hampered by nagging injuries in the past. Has been one of those guys that's either a big fly or kind of strikeout type of player. And that'll be a 4-pitch walk. That'll bring Ezra Gore, yesterday's leadoff hitter, now batting in the cleanup spot.
Yeah, and it looks like Babson will make a little bit of a run out to the mound. Coach will talk with his pitcher after the Tigers load the bases here after the Beavers did so in the top half of the first. Only difference is that the Tigers have them loaded without any outs. And Ezra Gore coming up to the plate, as Josh mentioned, the leadoff hitter for the Tigers last night in his first at-bat, did single, was able to hook one down that left field line. So a really good position for the Tigers to be in to start this one today, but honestly something that they struggled with last night. At the end of it, losing a 1-run gain and leaving 10 runners on base, not going to be a recipe for success very often this year, and it didn't prove fruitful for them last night. But they obviously, early on in this one, have an opportunity to right that ship, and a base hit should bring in 2 to give them the lead here. But Noon still struggling a little bit. Seems like his release point is that primary issue right now. He's been pretty consistent with his misses, a lot of them coming up and out of that zone. That one a little bit better, just catching that outside part of the plate, but his misses to this point have been because that arm has been falling behind a little bit, missing arm side to first base as a left-handed pitcher.
Gore pops this one up, and it's out of play. Yeah, and I mean, his first 4 pitches of the day, like he put them right over the middle of the plate. He had Baker down 0-2, and then Baker fouled off the 3rd pitch. And the 4th one, you would have expected to be completely out of the zone, and he just kind of hung it over the middle of the plate. It was low, but he hung it over the middle of the plate. And this one for Gore is ripped down to left field, and that is going to fall at the base of the wall. And he said a base hit would score at least 2, but a double is going to bring around 3, and Ezra Gore has the Tigers up ahead for the first time in this series now. 3-1 here in the first inning. Just a good piece of hitting.
Yeah, a really great piece of hitting by Gore right there. That pitch not particularly close to the heart of the plate, but Gore does a really great job pulling his hands all the way through and getting a lot of the barrel on that one. That one, if it was in the zone at all, was definitely on the inner half of the plate. So for Gore to put that one in the gap is an incredible job by the Tiger cleanup hitter.
And the Tigers still threatening here. Runner in scoring position, nobody down, and it's Nicholas Lazara. Tiger backstop. That one up the middle. Nice fielding play coming in from center field, but they're not going to be able to stop Gore, who patrols the defensive section there for the Trinity football team as a safety. And he comes around and scores the fourth run on the Lazara RBI single.
Yeah, and a great answer from the Tigers here in the bottom of the first. Pitching was questioned coming into this season without any doubt. The Tigers, a couple days in a row, have done a really good job with the bats in their hands, answering when this staff has given up a couple runs. But a better job early on here to get a lot of run support for their starter. Hopefully allow Duro to get a little bit more confidence and gain some traction on the mound so he can go deep into this one.
2 walks, 2 singles, and a double have the Tigers with 4 runs in here in the bottom of the first, and runner on first for Brian Schaub. Schaub, one of those guys that only batting 154 right now. We go back to what he did last year. We know that he's got extreme power and also a very good eye at the plate. Led the nation in walks a year ago, 43 on the season. Already has 4 through 4 games so far this year. Or excuse me, had 36 walks and 43 walks in 36 games last year. Already 4 walks in 4 games this year. So a little bit off his pace.
Yeah, and I think it's in large part due to something that we talked about last night. A great eye in the box, especially when it comes to looking at and taking those breaking balls from opposing pitchers. Schaub, as you mentioned, has got probably the most pop in his bat of anyone in this Tiger lineup as he draws another walk to start this one off today. But Schaub and that power is due in large part to the fact that he hunts fastballs as well as anybody in this lineup, and when he gets a hold of them.
Yep. And that was, honestly, right there, that pitch by Noon was probably one of the best pitches we've seen. He left it up and away on a 3-1 count, but he also wasn't going to bring it anywhere near inside on Schaub, who probably would have been able to turn on it. And now Christian Holloway, wearing number 9 today in the gray jerseys, and that's just going to be an unfortunate circumstance of this drizzle that we have today as Noon comes off the mound to make this play. He just slips going towards trying to get his feet underneath him. And that will likely go down as a infield single for Holloway. We'll see how they score it. But that'll bring up Evan McDonald, the designated hitter. Tigers already to the 8 spot. Still nobody down here in the first. First pitch swinging. Good hack from McDonald. Perfect and limited action so far this year. You see, just right on top of it, but his barrel was a little bit underneath the ball for first pitch, strike 1. Breaking ball will miss. Now Noon's probably into the situation where if it's close, the umpire's not giving the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, and already here in this one seems like a much tighter zone than what we saw from the home plate umpire in last night's action, especially late in the game. A little bit more liberal in the strikes that he was calling against the Tigers. We saw super senior Jack Wisniewski step into the box as someone that on the year last year had 50 hits while only striking out 8 times, but he was caught looking, and he saw a couple pitches in that at-bat that he wasn't super happy with, as McDonald stays perfect on the year, sending that one back up the middle and just out of the reach of the Beaver shortstop. So things continue to go well for the Tigers right here, as you see a breaking ball really well located by Noon, drops that one in there for a strike, but McDonald really waiting back on that one, does a good job to let it get deep and then sends it right back up the middle.
And so we'll take a short break as Babson will make a call to the pen, and we'll be right back here in just a moment.
And we welcome you back in here in San Antonio, Texas, as Babson has made a move to the bullpen already, still just the first inning. Tim Noon got the start on the day, but gave up 5 earned runs to the Tigers before being able to record an out, and his replacement will be Riley Tevens, senior pitcher. Through 13 innings on the season last year, posted a 3.46 ERA, but he comes into this one now with the bases loaded. He'll face Trey Verver, first-year Tiger out of Cedar Park High School, who will make his first career start, and he'll play in right field. His first at-bat goes favorably for the Tigers as this one runs in, driving in a run just as we saw in the first inning. That will make it 6-0 for Trinity here to begin this one. Now the lineup will flip over, and Jack Baker will step back into the box after singling in his first at-bat. Right now, really nothing going for this Babson pitching staff. Obviously, unfavorable conditions out there. It's cold, it's wet. Haven't had the best control on the baseball. That first delivery looked to be real close. Not exactly sure what the call on that one was. Start out favorably for Jack Baker again, 1-0. But that second pitch from Tevens pumped in there for a strike, even the count at 1-1. But if you're Babson right now, you're on this staff, this point in the game, it's really damage control. Try and get your bats back out on the field, as Baker won't allow them to do that, sending that one down the line. Will drive in 1 run as the Tigers will advance each 1 bag. See him put that one on the ground just past the third baseman. Not deep enough into that corner to score more than 1, but the Tigers will be happy with the result of that at-bat, making it 7-1. Just continuing to pass the baton around to start this one. Colt Harris will step back into the box, putting a deep drive into that one down the left field line, but it'll get foul. So we'll see a replay right here. Gets the foot down on time on what looked to be a fastball, but just well out ahead of it. Good job from Tevens right there. Looks like that had a little bit of break inside. Harris having to turn that shoulder just to get the bat on it, but fouls it off down the third base line into his own dugout, towards his own dugout, and all of a sudden Tevens ahead 0-2 here with a great spot to get the first out for the Beavers on the mound. And that's exactly what he does, pulls the string right there with that breaking ball. And now an opportunity to get out of this one with just a ground ball in the infield. But it'll certainly be a tough task as MJ Metz steps back into the box. The hottest hitter for this Tiger squad walked in his first at-bat. As we mentioned already in the inning, went 3 for 4 on the day yesterday. Josh mentioned the fact that he's had some difficulty in his time on campus putting everything together. Certainly a difficult task to do for someone that stands in at 6'5". A lot of moving parts with his swing. So we see this one that got past Kylie right there. That started to go around just a bit, but umpire behind home plate won't grant a swing to the Babson pitcher for that. Mets will send that one out into center field. That'll be deep enough to advance the runners. Although it doesn't look like that one gets down for Mets. He'll head back to the dugout, but he does a job there with a sacrifice fly that drives in the 8th run of this first inning for the Tigers. You can see on that replay, that one just a little bit outside off the end of the bat of Mets. But he hits that one to the deepest part of this field, and again, drives in a run to make this one 8-1. A great start for the Tigers here today as Ezra Gore steps back into the plate and fouls that one down the left field line. talked already in the broadcast about the fact that Trinity left 10 runners on base yesterday just to lose by 1 run. Metz was stranded at second base in the bottom of the ninth as the Tigers struck out looking to end the game. But here in this one, with a couple runners on here, have already scored 8. And Teven's delivery there misses low and inside, but a good job by Kiley behind the plate. As you see him set up on the outside, that pitch missing by a lot. Second-year catcher does a good job to move over and glove that one, preventing even more runs from scoring here. Another good delivery by Tevens right there has Ezra Gore swinging over the top of it. All of a sudden, it's a 2-2 count, giving Babson the opportunity to get out of this first inning finally, but things continue to go opposite direction. Babson once, that one misses a little low and outside. The count will return to full. Gore battles that one off. And we'll see another 3-2 pitch coming here with 2 outs in the bottom of the first. And that one also missing low, so the first inning will continue for the Tigers. Good job by Ezra Gore. Great patience at this at-bat, despite the fact that he had a couple of runners on base, opportunity to drive in a few more runs after his first at-bat where he cleared the bases with a double into the left center field gap. Now, Nicholas Lazara will step in for the second time this time, on the opposite side of the plate. Switch hitting catcher. Have the bases loaded here. The opportunity to, more than likely with 2 outs here, put up at least 2 more runs on the board for the Tigers. Give them a 10 spot in this opening frame. Lazar, as we mentioned, one of the couple of defensive changes for the Tigers. He's coming in behind the plate today after we saw Matt McNaney get the call yesterday. The switch will come for the Tigers after McNaney went 0 for 3, was pitch hit for late in that game by Brandon Nelson. Lazar looks at that one, seemed to have a little bit of run on it, arm side towards the Tiger dugout, but despite that, it's called for a strike. Tevens again up in the count with 2 strikes here against the Tiger hitter, has the opportunity to get Babson back into the dugout. That pitch misses wide, and we'll go again. Lazar rips that one, but unfortunately for him, right at the Beaver second baseman. That's Lapham right there, awaiting that one. Another hard hit ball for the Tigers here in the bottom of the first, but if you're Trinity, can't complain too much about the outcome of that, considering the fact that you had 10-plus Tigers come to the plate before it, 8 come across to score, and the Tigers lead this one by 7 runs as they enter just the second inning, and Harrison Duro gets ready to go on the mound. We'll be back here in San Antonio in just a moment. And we welcome you back here in San Antonio as the second inning is underway. New Beaver in the lineup today, Savage, flexing his quick reflexes as that one gets a little bit away from DeRoe, sending Savage to the dirt. But he avoids any contact with the baseball right there as he makes his first at-bat of the season. Looking to get something going for the Beavers right here. He fouls that second one off. Even count at 1-1. Certainly difficult to step back into the box, try and get a hit, especially after a guy runs that far in, sending you to the dirt. But a good job from Savage, not shying away from the task right here, stepping in and immediately swinging the bat a couple of times. But DeRoe, after that first one, finds himself ahead in the count 1-2, and will look to put away the the Beaver 8-hole hitter right here. He'll do exactly that with a big looping curveball that just drops in the middle of the zone. Absolutely had Savage frozen after he saw a couple of fastballs that he fouled off. Great pitch by DeRoe, absolutely throwing off the timing of the Babson hitter. And there's one down here in the top of the second as Manning steps into the box. Left-handed hitter playing in the outfield for Babson. Went 0-4 in the game last night in 4 at-bats. He looked at and took another one of those nice breaking balls from DeRoe on that first pitch, fouling that second one off. That one sent to the right side, but fielded there by Metz. Diving effort, was able to stop that one, but DeRoe a little bit slow to cover the bag there, and Manning flexing his wheels as he is able to beat that one out for an infield single. Certainly showed off his speed yesterday. Ball hit to second base. Wisniewski tagging the runner in the base path rather than trying to throw out Manning at first. Now the Beavers here in the top of the second trying to answer the Tigers' 8-run first frame by just scratching something of their own to get back into this one. Still a lot of time left in this baseball game. As we saw yesterday, this is a Babson side that can really string together hits and come away with a pretty big frame. So they did so in the top of the fifth, scoring 4 runs. A couple of two-run doubles for the Beavers proved to be the difference in the game.
A much better at bat for Perkle, who went down looking to start the game. This time I'll take a 4-pitch walk, and there'll be 2 aboard here, just 1 down.
And for DeRoe, similar to what we saw out of him in that first frame, really nice job against the first couple of hitters. Obviously, the second one ultimately reaching here in Manning, but did exactly what he needed to do, inducing that ground ball to the right side. Just unfortunately was beat out by the runner in covering. And Coach Dave Smith will make the trek out to the mound, and DeRoe's day will be done already. Short leash here, but certainly a long break could have played into the decision to pull DeRoe early in this one. There will be a new Tiger pitcher coming on to the mound is number 16, left-hander. That will be Zachary Garza for Trinity. We'll see him warm up. But we'll take a break while that happens, and we'll be back with the action in just a minute. And we welcome you back here as Garza comes set and begins to deliver his first pitch in a Tigers uniform. Second-year left-handed pitcher making his Tiger debut after missing the entire season in 2021 due to Tommy John surgery, but he's come back here in 2022, and he's a guy that this coaching staff is incredibly excited about. We mentioned earlier in the broadcast that the question for the Tigers this season was going to be the pitching staff, but already seems like that question has been answered so far in 2022. Return of Cater, the addition of Newman, and then only 4 other Tigers having made appearances so far on the season really cuts the number of pitchers that were used in the campaign last season. But Garza becomes the 7th Tiger to appear on the bump on the season today. He falls behind in the count 2-0 here. He inherits a couple of runners. Make that 3-0, excuse me. But he does have 1 out. He does have a 7-run cushion right here, and he's in a scenario in which a ground ball could get him out of the inning really, really quickly. But he pumps in a fastball for a strike on the outer half of the plate right there to make it 3-1. Comes set again as Baker pops in and out of the screen, and Garza will step off, go through the signs again, and focus in on the batter, trying to ignore the runners on base right now. The one that you see in your picture right now is Manning, who sent a ground ball to the right side of the infield. Metz on a nice diving play was able to keep it from finding its way into the outfield, but DeRoe, Tiger starter on the day, not able to get all the way over to first base. He ultimately exited this one. We'll recap his day for you here. He went an inning and a third, giving up only 2 hits, but walking 2, allowing 1 earned run in the 10 batters that he faced. But he exits the game today to this point with a 2.84 ERA on the season, almost cutting the number that he had last year in half to this point.
And a big spot here for Lapham, who had a single up the middle in his first at-bat. And after falling behind 1-0, Garza's going to be able to fight back and get the call. Now 1-1. And the infield will be a double play position. Garza looking to induce a ground ball. He gets a check swing. That's going to be called a strike.
Yeah, and for Garza, certainly a lot of emotions that ought to be running through him right now. 1, to be making a collegiate debut. 2, to be returning from Tommy John surgery. 3, to be inheriting a couple of runners. And 4, to be coming in out of the bullpen in that scenario. A lot of things to deal with, but settling in nicely here in this second at-bat. Missing just a little bit wide with that breaking ball, but
yeah, that's a pitch that the coaching staff will be happy with. You got a guy behind 1 and 2. Last thing you want to do is hang anything over the middle of the plate. If you're going to throw that breaking ball, make sure it gets away. And that one's going to be sliced into the outfield, making the catch. Be a fielder, and that will be good enough for Lapham on a sac fly. Schaub playing this one back into second, not even trying to worry about the run, just trying to keep the runners at first and second where they are. And so Babson, once again, scoring a run in the inning, scored 1 in the top half. And that was Lapham, who, after singling with 2 outs, was able to come around and score. But this time he drives in the run, so a run scored and an RBI now for him. And then that takes us to the cleanup spot here with Yellen.
certainly a plus for the Tigers and for Garza specifically to come in to the game with such a huge pad on the scoreboard. can afford to give up that run right there and still lead this 1-6. But a good job by the Tigers' second year after he got ahead in that at-bat. Didn't give the Babson hitter anything over the heart of the plate. Had the advantage as a left-handed pitcher against a left-handed hitter. That last pitch that was ultimately put in play did seem to move a little bit away, breaking towards that Tiger dugout. Beaver at bat, all he could really afford to do was stick his barrel out there, but didn't put enough on it to get it over the head of Schaub in left field. And Garza and the Tigers doing a really nice job, better job than Babson did in the bottom of the first, of really limiting damage and doing a good job by trading it out for a run.
As you see, Perkle and Santos moving 90 feet ahead to third and second. Yellen was hit by a pitch in his first at-bat. So now they're just going to intentionally walk him down with the base open. So that'll be a free pass for Yellen. He's on a board for the second time. And coming to the plate now will be Keeley. And Keeley was walked in his first plate appearance. And this will be a mound visit here for Dave Smith, and he'll do the quick hook on Garza. So we'll take a break and find out who's coming out of the pen next when we return. You're on Tiger Network.
And as we get started again here on the campus of Trinity University in San Antonio, Texas, second-year pitcher Joseph Chavana, who comes on that first offering, gets away just a little bit, that breaking ball bouncing, but not far enough for another run to come in for Babson. Chavana comes onto the mound with the bases loaded, but does have 2 outs here in the top of the second. And for the Tigers, maybe no one else you'd rather have on the bump right now. Chavana entering this weekend after earning SCAC Pitcher of the Week honors in 2 appearances last weekend against Birmingham Southern and Washington University St. Louis. He threw 4 1/3 innings, striking out 6 and earning a victory. These Tigers second-year pitchers, certainly some of the brightest arms in this staff, and a lot to look forward to in the coming years, knowing that you have these arms in your bullpen and available to start. Chavana coming back with that breaking ball as his second offering. That one much better, finding the zone, even the count at 1-1. He does have his work cut out for him here against Kylie. Chavana operating out of the stretch delivers that fastball and misses just a little bit outside. Height seemed to be good on that one, but Kiley will take the advantage. Up 2-1 in the count right here for Giovanna. Really think that curveball is going to be the way to go, and he has another delivery there. Out to Baker at short. Gives the long, short hop to Metz right there. Lanky Tiger first baseman able to come up with that one, but again, we see what looks like an off-speed pitch right there. Perhaps not that curveball. Baker bouncing that one well ahead of the Tiger first baseman, who's able to pick it easily. And the Tigers get out of trouble here in the top of the second inning. Beavers able to scratch one, but Trinity still leads this one by 6. We'll have the bottom of the second inning for you here in San Antonio after a quick break. Stevens back to work on the bump, facing Brian Schaub, who steps into the box for the second time on the day already, just in the second inning here in San Antonio. First pitch from Stevens looked like a fastball, which called for a strike. Comes back with a curveball. The second one bouncing in the dirt. Count will be even here for the Trinity left fielder at 1-1. That one missing just a bit up. 2-1. And the zone remains really, really tight as Schaub pulls that one down the left field line. That one will get into the corner just a little bit. Schaub taking a big turn around first base, really trying to push for second there, but Babson doing a really nice job in the outfield. So we'll see the replay. A couple of balls that have been hit down that left field line really, really hard, but Cook making the appearance in left field for the Beavers here today has done a really good job getting in front and around those baseballs and getting them back to the infielders to limit the Tigers to a couple of singles. Christian Holloway steps into the box again here today. He got the start in last night's action, or at least was inserted into the lineup as the DH. Early on in that one, he came through with an RBI single up the middle, but finished with just that one hit in his 5 at-bats on the day. He waved on that first pitch, and now a little bit more of a liberal strike call there as that one, which looked to be outside, maybe outside in the context of a lot of the other pitches that we've seen called strikes and balls tonight, but helps out Stevens there. Is that third pitch. Another breaking ball, off-speed delivery, had Holloway out in front of it again, and he has the Tigers' second year down on strikes to record the first out of the inning.
Yeah, most of the outs against Holloway this year have come via strikeout. So, can be a good thing if you've got runners on. You don't ground out into a double play very often, but McDonald 1 for 1 on the day. And 2 for 2 on the year. 2 RBI and a run scored. Stevens come in. Been very effective in his work. Throw back over on Schaub, who's back in safely. The 0-1. Breaking ball down at the knees. Call that was not given yesterday to either side very often. Both coaches, I think, wanted the calls down around the knees, but the strike zone was more left up in the air. That one will miss up and away.
Yeah, and now here in this second inning, the strike zone growing a little bit more inconsistent. That last pitch, fastball on the outside part of the plate, looked to be in a really similar location to the one that Holloway got in his at-bat that ended up being the first out of the inning for the Tigers, but that one's McDonald called a ball. That next pitch, kicking away from Kiley, who came up thinking it went straight behind him. That one kicking towards the Tiger dugout, allowing Schaub to move up to second base, as you see in that replay right there as he rounded.
And he took a big turn, thinking maybe get a 2-for-1 special, but Kiley very alert. I think he knew as that pitch was coming in, he looked like he tried to catch it normally instead of trying to hit the dirt and try to block it. And that one's inside, and you and I are both a little confused. I mean, McDonald with a good eye, obviously, but that looked like that could have been called for strike 3 as well. Now the full count. And 4 straight pitches after falling behind 0-2. McDonald takes his walk. Now runners first and second here, one down. That one clearly missing on the interior part, but the pitch beforehand, I thought, I don't really have a problem with it being a ball. It was sort of a borderline pitch, but McDonald doing a great job of just laying off of it for ball 3, and then that allows him to get to ball 4 in the walk. Verver fouling off that first pitch. First year out of Cedar Park. Again, his first appearance for the Tigers, and he will get hit by a pitch on his second at bat. And that will load the bases here for Trinity.
Yeah, and for Verver, obviously getting aboard a couple times here in this one, but having the bat taken out of his hands, as that's the second time on the day that he's been hit by a pitch. So obviously satisfied as that on-base percentage will remain at 1,000 to start his career, but I'm sure that making his debut in a Tiger uniform, he'd be a lot happier if he had the opportunity to really swing the bat.
So Baker steps in, swinging at the first pitch. Won't get his third hit of the game. He was 2 for 2, but that one will be good enough to score a run as Schaub comes around. Just chopped it over the infield, and actually Verver, really good base running, kept himself out of the double play. It was a choppy play for the second baseman, but good job by the first year to hustle down to second to avoid the double play and allow the run to score. And now it'll be shot over to third. First pitch swinging again, and this time it's Harris. Harris, who was 0 for 1 with a walk, now be 0 for 2, and that will be the bottom of the second here for the Tigers. They do plate a run and then push that lead back to 7. It's now 9-2 Trinity, and we'll take a break and be back here for the third in just a bit. Leading off the top of the third for Babson will be Barichka, hit by a pitch in his first appearance. Able to get an RBI out of that as well. Then coming all the way back in the first inning, and I say all the way back in the first inning, we're only in the third, but that was about an hour ago. Then he did all of that. Yesterday's game only taking 2 hours and about 40 minutes. We're about halfway there already.
Good job from Shavana to start this at bat. Another breaking ball that he drops in there for a strike to start it, and then that fastball really had Barichka's timing thrown off, wasn't able to get that bat all the way around. So he sends that one through the left side, past the diving effort over there at third base. That one sneaks into the outfield. Really good job from Barichka right there, and honestly not a bad pitch from Shavana either. Barichka going down almost on one knee as he was well out in front of that one, but did just enough to poke it through the left side.
Cook's first at bat, he flew out to center field to end the inning in the first, and we'll get that one down in the dirt. Able to come up with it. There's Lazara. So moving over to second will be Barichka. He's now in scoring position, and Babson just, on a normal day, being able to put a runner in scoring position and bring him around every inning would be great. You give up 8 in the first, it's not necessarily the same. And Lazara, I can't see it this time, and it's way behind him. I think Shavana's going to go pick it up as it's over off the apron. So 2 pitches to Cook, and he's now a fly ball away from getting an RBI and a sac fly.
Yeah, and a couple of different faces behind the plate for the Tigers this weekend, Josh. You look back on yesterday's action, and you just have to think that the play of Tyler Pettit behind there, the consistency out of the Tiger transfer from the University of Incarnate Word was sorely missed in a game where Babson gets a couple runners on third base in separate innings after a pair of passed balls in each frame. A couple of chances from the Tiger catcher last night to throw out the runner. Shavana gets Cook to ground to short there. Baker will make the throw on to first to retire the Babson Beaver. But another run will score, as you mentioned. Babson doing a really good job scoring a run in each of these innings. But
yeah, building a pretty nice picket fence along the scoreline, but not really anything Shavana could do about that. I mean, you expect your backstop to come up and make those plays for you and on some of your breaking balls. And Shavana's, it's kind of, it goes with being a breaking ball pitcher. And sometimes you're going to give up 90 feet to a guy. You don't expect to give up 180 feet on 2 pitches, but sometimes that's just the way it goes. And the score now 9-3 as that scoreboard will get changed over here momentarily.
But the play of Tyler Pettit during the campaign last year, primary catcher who caught some 80% of the games for the Tigers, the fact that he was as solid as he was behind the plate defensively, blocking a lot of the pitches we've seen get away from the Tiger catchers in the last couple of games, but simultaneously being just as dangerous with the bat in his hands, hitting some 400% for the Tigers in conference play. As that ball gets past Metz, a little bit of a shorter hop, he wasn't able to pick it. Seemed like the conditions here today played an impact on that one as he looked to slip as he was trying to make that play at first base. Yeah, that's exactly what happened, as that left foot kind of got out from under him. Beavers, again, have a runner in scoring position here in the top of the third.
Savage aboard. That will lead us back to Manning batting in the 9 spot. Yeah, and the other thing that I think that, Trinity really missed with Pettit was just somebody with the, one of the things that he does so well as a catcher is sitting there helping his pitcher with his framing. And not that the rest of the catchers aren't doing a decent job back there, but when you've got somebody who's so effortlessly doing that, it just leads to a little bit more of a percentage of strikes called and an opportunity to maybe get your pitcher out of there a little bit earlier in the inning, not allow an extra 2 batters to face and run on you or anything else. So, definitely missing that type of expertise and that experience back there. But on the flip side of it, you've got an opportunity, eventually you're going to have your catchers have some experience and be in that same position that Pettit's already in. And so an opportunity now for some of the guys to get back there and have a better chance. McNaney yesterday, Lazard today.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. But for these guys, definitely made more difficult by the fact that Pettit is a presence on this team. You expect him to go out and get most of the starts, and when he misses games due to sickness or really unforeseen circumstances, to have your name called upon the morning of a game when you go to sleep the night before expecting not to start, it's a really difficult adjustment to make to that quickly flip the switch and get in the right mindset. So over the past couple of days, for McNaney and now here for Lazard today, really great efforts considering the fact that they haven't had their numbers called upon a whole lot in their first couple of years and appearances in Tiger uniforms.
All right, now Babson taking advantage of that, and they're almost able to trade outs for runs here. Doing that earlier with Cook. Now Savage over to third, and there is a line shot but foul down the first baseline. Bridgko was able to come around after getting a single. Cook grounded out, and then Savage getting on board via an error. Now Shavana 2-2 to Manning. This one will be lifted into shallow center. Coming in is Ezra Gore. And he will not be able to make the catch, so it's going to be an RBI single from Manning. And two have come in through this third inning now for Babson, and they're chipping away at the lead just every inning, just a little bit by a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's why it was so important early in this one, that first inning, the second inning, where Tigers scored runs, just to try and limit damage as much as possible. I mentioned that this is a team that put up a 4 spot in the top of the 5th last night, and certainly has the bats to get back into this one, especially when you have as many frames and as many outs to work with as they did at that point in the game. Been really solid and consistent through a couple innings here, getting runners on base, capitalizing on mistakes from the Tigers defensively, moving guys around the bases, as Lazara makes a nice throw back to first base, just coming a little bit late, unable to pick the runner off there. But for the Tigers and this pitching staff, important not to get complacent in situations like these. Certainly a luxury compared to last night, as Cater worked early in the game without much run support. Tigers did strike first, but being up 1 and being up 6 or 7 runs are two very different feelings. Although the Tigers have a huge lead here today, Shavana delivers a really nice curveball, getting Perkle to swing and miss over the top of that one.
Yeah, Perkle now 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts, one looking and that one swinging. Also had a walk now, Santos. Coming in, it's 0 for 1 today. And Shavana only at 25 pitches. It seems like we've seen 25 pitches in the last 4 batters for Shavana, but trying to not only help come in at the last half of the second, came in to close it out for Trinity. Trying to expand it, try to get Trinity deep into this game, as he's already the 3rd Tiger pitcher out there. Santos puts that one over to second, and that will do it here for Babson. But they do plate 2 here, top of the 3rd, and they have chipped the lead down now 9-4. Tigers are up as they come back here in the bottom half of the 3rd. new pitcher here for Babson is going to be John McDonald. His first batter that he'll face will be MJ Metz. Metz with a walk and a sac fly. Check swing, but called strike.
McDonald, the third pitcher, enters the game out of the Babson bullpen here today. Saw the Beavers use 4 arms in last night's action. Got a great start on the day from Tristan Spalter, who made his first career start. Got off to a little bit of a shaky first inning, but didn't allow any runs in that frame. Settled in, ultimately going 5 innings, allowing 3 runs on 7 hits, and then Babson bullpen came in, did a good job to keep the rest of the Tiger bats at bay. Nate Carpenter, William Korn, and Stephen McClendon combined for the final 4 innings for Babson. McClendon did a good job coming in the bottom of the 9th inning, although MJ Metz stands in now, was able to double off the right field wall. As we mentioned earlier in this one, he was stranded at second base, and McClendon earned his first save on the year. McDonald making his first appearance in his career as a pitcher for the Beavers, issues the walk to Metz. So we see the 3-2 delivery that missed down and away from the big Tiger right-hander. And again, Tigers with the base runners.
Yeah, and all things considered, probably not a bad pitch against Metz. The hottest hitter for the Tigers here in the early part of the season, and that was a great pitch against Gore. Just kind of hung it on the bottom corner of the strike zone. And Ezra on the day had the double, plated 3 to get the Tigers going in the first, and then he came around, he walked later on in that inning. And the runner goes, and you saw Gore with the swing, and now Metz, I think he just overshot the bag. Yeah, you kind of see him off the bag there, and you saw the help you out swing, and then it slides off there at the very end. You see the tag come in late, so I think he beat the throw down, but then overslid the bag. So that'll be 1 down, and now Gore, I believe the count's 0-2, so we'll double check that because I believe the first one was a strike, and then he swung through that one for 0-2.
For Babson, Kiley behind the plate, really impressive defensively as well. Obviously, as a freshman last year, hit .255, earned Newcomer of the Year honors, but in last night's action was able to throw at Ezra Gore, which is an incredibly tall task, probably the fastest Tiger on this roster. MJ Metz standing at 6'5", those long strides weren't any issue as Gore lifts that one into the outfield. Make that big round around first base, head back to the Tiger dugout. That marks the second out here of the bottom of the third, and after a really bright spot to have your leadoff hitter aboard, looks like that off-speed pitch, probably a curveball, just had Gore well out in front of it. It was all he could do to lift that one up in the outfield, but Manning there in center field for the Beavers to record the out.
That'll bring Lazara to the plate. Single on an RBI, and then lined out to second base. Ball back in the first inning. First one was down low for a ball. Second one will be in the same general location. That one pulled over. First baseman's got it. And Barichka will take it himself. And McDonald comes in. His first appearance for the Beavers. Gives up a walk. Gets caught stealing. And gets out of a potential jam going through the heart of the Tiger order here. Gets the 3, 4, 5 hitters out. And we will go to the top of the 4th here on the Tiger Network. Top of the fourth, and the Tigers, I wouldn't say are desperately needing a 1-2-3 inning, but they could certainly use one here for Shavana, as Babson effectively getting a 1-2-3 inning in the top half of the inning, or excuse me, the bottom half of the third. That one be pulled foul. Lapham now 1 for 2, well, actually 1 for 1, and got a sac fly in his last at bat, drawing in a run. Scored a run in his first at bat, batting .400 on the year, 2 for 5 so far in this series. The outside breaking ball catching the plate.
Yeah, it looks like that strike zone continues to expand. That part of the zone, as we mentioned earlier, not called consistently early on in this one, but over the course of the last 2 innings, pitches in that location have resulted in strikes. But for Shavana, comes back with another great offering with that curveball. Gets Lapham well out in front of it, as you'll see right here. Just rolling over on the baseball right there to Colt Harris. Fields his position cleanly, makes the perfect throw on over to Metz. And a good start for what you say the Tigers need here in a 1-2-3 inning. Exactly what the Beavers just got out of McDonald, who did really well in that last frame, shutting the Tiger bats down after the Beavers were able to score 2. But Yellen right there sends one back up the middle, bobbled by Baker over there at short, as he also deals with some footing problems. See the replay. It looks like a hard hit ball, but Baker able to range over, just bobbles that one, and then trying to reach for it, has that back foot slip out from under him.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything is mostly in good shape out there, but you've seen the droplets of rain on the screens and the camera lenses, and so we know that it's still if nothing else misting out there, and that's kind of the worst type of precipitation that you could have, especially out at this field, where if it just gets slightly slippery, it becomes a problem. Now this one rolled over, should be an easy 6-4-3, and maybe not so easy, but Met's doing a great job of digging it out, and said Shavana needed a 1-2-3 inning. They'll take this. Nice job by Baker to get it started. And Met's pulling it out. See the boys getting congratulated as they head back in, and that kind of puts stop to the Babson scoring a run every time out. And we'll be back for the bottom half of the fourth here in just a bit. As McDonald continues to warm up, a couple of other scores around the SEAC of interest for folks watching this one. Babson softball, who will be here on campus tomorrow, both Babson softball and Babson baseball here at Trinity. 9 o'clock start for the softball game tomorrow. The baseball game will start at 10 o'clock. Babson's flight getting canceled, and then they had to make changes. So they will start at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Now, that one was originally supposed to be a mid-afternoon start, and that's unfortunate because by mid-afternoon we're going to be back to the nice 60-degree weather here in San Antonio that we know and love here in February. As that one's rolled over to short, and that'll be a quick out against Schaub to start the bottom half of the fourth inning. But Babson softball over in Kerrville, about 35-40 minutes away from San Antonio, taking on Schreiner, another SCAC school, defeating the Mountaineers on a no-hitter in Game 1, 20-0. And in end of the second now. Babson on top, 14-0 in Game 2. So Tigers will have a lot on their hands tomorrow as they take on the Beavers over on the other diamond, as these two will, at that same time, be concluding their 3-game series.
That last at bat, Schaub stepping in. Talked already in this one about his tendency to hunt fastballs. Looked like he got one right there, but McDonald throwing a little bit more of a two-seamer, had a little bit of run, and ultimately wound up on Schaub's hands a little bit more than I think he envisioned. He just rolled over the top of that one and sent it out to shortstop for the easy first out here in the bottom of the fourth.
So pinch hitting now for Holloway is going to be Vonderhaar. Vonderhaar batting .250 on the year.
That .250 mark, perhaps a little bit deceiving, especially after last night's game where he had a couple of hard hit baseballs. First one coming earlier in the game, hard hit ball right down the first base line, but ultimately right at the first baseman. And then later on in last night's action, sent one pretty hard hit towards the line in left field. But the Babson outfielder was able to range over, make a diving catch towards the line, and rob Vonderhaar. So he ended up hitless on the night. And a tough start here on this one as he is struck out there. Goes down looking.
Yeah, so the strikeout for McDonald be his first. Now taking on Evan McDonald, who's perfect on the season. Have to redo that entire stats bar to give some of these guys their due here when they're batting 1,000. So it shows him batting 0-0-0 just because it doesn't carry the single digits place. But McDonald, perfect on the year so far, 1 for 1 today. And he also drew a walk back in the second inning. That one might be the first time they get him out. And that one's into right field and making a diving catch. No, it's going to fall out in right field, and we'll see that on replay. There's a second baseman going back for that one, Manning, and he almost had a spectacular play here. If they switch to 3. Well, Manning had a spectacular attempt at it, and he almost got McDonald out for the first time all year. Now Verver back to the plate, hit by pitch both times so far today. McDonald staying far away from him with that one out over the middle.
Yeah, and Verver steps in, surely cognizant of the fact that he's been hit and hasn't had the opportunity to swing the bat. So sees a pitch on the outside of the part of the plate and goes ahead and takes a nice healthy hack at it. But McDonald comes right back and makes sure that the streak continues. So Verver, hot start to his career.
Yeah, the human magnet, Verver. Now 3 for 3 in hit by pitches and to start his Trinity career. We don't have Elias Sports for any of the Trinity stats, but I'm just going to go out and say that nobody else in a Tiger uniform has ever started their career 3 for 3 hit by pitches. So it looks like McDonald's day is done as 2 are aboard with 2 down here in the bottom half of the fourth. We'll take a quick break and be back here in just a bit.
Jack Baker will step in, swinging over the top of that delivery from the new Beaver pitcher. It'll be Luke McClintock, the freshman out of South Hamilton, Massachusetts, who will make his first career appearance for the Beavers. That second offering in the dirt gets a little bit away from Kiley. Kiley perhaps getting just enough of his body on it. Keep the Tiger runners at bay. Actually looks like both Tigers will advance on the base paths as that third bag was open. Now for Baker, he stands in with 2 outs here in the bottom of the 4th. Imagine that a base hit, if it gets down here, would score both, but he sends that one right at the Beaver center fielder. And that's Manning again, who will record the final out of the inning. Clintock doing a good job pitching to contact right there. And unfortunate for Baker, a hard struck ball, unfortunately, just right at the defender. But Babson gets out of it here in the bottom of the 4th without surrendering another run. Giovanna will return to the mound for the Tigers, and we'll bring you action in the 5th inning here in San Antonio when we return. As we return here in San Antonio, Barichka pounds that one into the ground. It's Jack Baker over there at the shortstop position who fields that one cleanly, makes the throw on to MJ Metz at first base for the first out here in the top of the 5th. So Giovanna working really quickly here in this one after coming into the game in that 2nd inning. And 3rd pitcher the Tigers have used today. As Cook stands in, sends that one down the line past a diving 3rd baseman from the Tigers. That one, for the first time today, really winds up all the way in the corner. Schaub doing a nice job hustling to it, but not before Cook finds his way onto second base. It's the second hitter here in the inning.
Yeah, an excellent job by Cook. Runner in scoring position, 1 down for Savage. Reached on a throwing error from Baker back in the 3rd and struck out looking in the 2nd. So looking for a base hit so he can help chip away at the Tiger run, at the Tiger lead. Scored 8 runs in the 1st inning.
I'll amend myself after I identified some people wrong to start the inning here. After Vonderhaar came on to pinch hit in the last half, he'll make the defensive switch coming into the game to play first base. MJ Metz will get the boot and take the spot over at 3rd. So he made the diving effort on that last batted ball in play, and Vonderhaar over there at 1st. got involved pretty quickly here in the top of the fifth to record that first out and that ground ball to Baker at short. Giovanna, after falling down 2-1 here to Savage, it's a good job pumping a fastball back over the heart of the zone, forcing the Babson 8-hole to swing the bat right there. That one fouled off down the left field line. Count draws even at 2-2 now.
That one high into second base. Catch made for the out.
Yeah, and a good job from Giovanna right there, drawing even with that fastball that he pumped over the heart of the plate, and then throwing another really competitive pitch. As he stares in, you can see his breath in cold San Antonio today. Cold, wet, miserable weather for baseball. But happy to be back here on the campus of Trinity University. Tigers home opening weekend.
Yeah, high 30s today, a little bit windy, a little bit of drizzle. Delightful day for Boston today. As I know that the other day when Babson arrived on campus, they were talking about how they had over a foot of snow, and they were just happy and looking forward to getting out onto the field. That one's pulled down the first base side. Diving attempt made, but not come up with, and that'll be an RBI single for Manning. Fine piece of hitting through the right side.
For Manning, having himself quite the day now. Saw him reach on a ball that MJ Metz was able to knock down, keeping the infield in Manning's first at-bat, but then he's followed that up now here with a single that got down in front of an outfielder. He pulls that one again through the right side for a base hit, driving in the run to make it a 4-run ball game.
Yeah, he's 3 for 3 on the day. His average now sitting at 429 with those 3 hits for hitless yesterday. So Perkle stands in 0 for 2. 1 for 3 yesterday. As you mentioned, just Babson just once again just chipping that Tiger lead every inning, it seems. Scored 2 in the third, but none in the fourth, but averaging about a run an inning so far.
Giovanna right now paying a lot of attention to Manning over there at first base. Talked a lot yesterday. Giovanna gives another offer. Looks like that one a little bit closer. Almost caught Manning sleeping as Giovanna got the ball back from Lazara behind the plate. Talked a little bit yesterday about the fact that this is a Babson squad that was only able to play in 17 outings last year. Had 8 games canceled due to COVID. But in those 17 games, Manning, in his sophomore campaign, played in 11, earned 23 at-bats, reached base 11 times, and in those 11 awnings was able to steal 3 bags, but he won't have an opportunity here as Giovanna strikes out Perkle and struts back to the dugout. The Tigers maintain a 4-run lead and look to get the bats going again as we enter the bottom of the 5th inning. We'll be back with it in just a moment.
First pitch swinging for Harris, making his 4th plate appearance today. Walk, struck out, and grounded out. McClintock with a couple of pitches to close out the 4th inning, and now Harris putting that one on a line, and that'll be a single. So mentioned a walk, a strikeout, a ground out, and now the single. So pretty much every result you could possibly get for Harris at the plate today.
And a good job in the leadoff spot of this inning. Tigers scoreless in their last couple of frames. Babson slowly clawing their way back into this one. They've scored in all but 1 inning so far today. It's been a very consistent effort for the Beavers. The Tigers had a good start to the last inning against McClintock, getting the leadoff runner on. Doing the same here, and obviously a guy that you'd want up at the plate in this position in MJ Metz.
2 walks and a sac fly for Metz today. Still looking for his first official at-bat.
Obviously, we've talked extensively about Brian Schaub, the campaign that he had last year, leading Division III baseball in walks drawn. But to start this season, Metz certainly looking like someone that could rival that as he sends that one down the left field line. Looks like that one hit towards third baseman, actually.
Let's see if we can get a look at that one on replay. I thought the press box were back in one of the classrooms watching this on monitors, just like you are out at home.
That one off the bat looked like it was headed towards the third baseman. Looked like ultimately the shortstop wound up with the baseball.
Just a bad hop right there for the third baseman, and should go down as a base hit there for Metz. But the Trinity, the left side of the Trinity diamond, not as bad as it used to be. You can talk to players from 10 years ago, 20 years ago. The shortstop area, the third base area was, maybe you take a catcher's mask out there to field some of this stuff, as the hops were just abominable at times. They've done a really good job over the years of really changing up this field, and this summer we'll see another change at some point. That one's in the dirt, and really good effort and instincts there from Babson's catcher. Keep the runners at bay.
Also a really good job by Gore after squaring around those first 2 offerings, pulling the bat back there. Unfortunate that McClintock's first offering, that curveball, was able to drop in. That time Gore does go on the curveball that drops out of the zone, finding himself behind 1 and 2. But still in a good position here in the bottom of the 5th.
Yeah, I'd still bunt him. I mean, nobody out. You've got Lazara on deck, left-hander. Let's see if he swears around. He's didn't appear to, so maybe they've taken that off.
But I don't disagree with you in this scenario. Typically, as fielders, you'd expect exactly what we saw out of Gore in that last offering as he turns on that one, sending it again into the gap in left field. That one bouncing up against the wall, it seemed like.
Yeah, so much for bunting. Ezra Gore with another double. That one just shot off the bat to the warning track. So get another RBI. That's 4 on the day. Had 3 RBI on a double back in the first inning. This one brings around Harris. And the Tigers, as we said, just kind of needed a run just to kind of maybe stop that momentum. Just kind of go from there. And Ezra Gore with another big hit, driving some Tiger runs.
What I was prepping to say was, hopefully you catch the defense sleeping. Lay something down when they're not expecting it. And Gore's speed was going to be able to beat out a throw from the infield. But all of a sudden, he shows his versatility. Obviously a 2-sport athlete, but he's got the speed and the power as he barreled that one deep to left field. But Lazara comes right behind him to do a job driving in the run, trading the out. So he's thrown out at first base, but MJ Metz comes in from third base to score.
Yeah, Metz coming around, and we'll get that score updated here in a second. It should be 11-5 Tigers as two have come in here in this inning, and Gore standing on second. Or excuse me, Gore making his way from second to third. And that puts him in scoring position here if Schaub can get a sac fly. Schaub 1 for 2 on the day. You see that average now at 200. It's taking him a little bit of time to get going, but Tiger fans are excited about the possibilities with him in the lineup. 14 home runs a year ago. That one's in the dirt, and Ezra's going to come around and score. No. Ezra thrown out the plate. We'll see that on replay. That hit off the back of the brick wall and rebounded all the way back to McClintock, who makes the play. And you see Ezra just like, I couldn't do much. That one off of the brick wall. Maybe we can see it all the way from camera 2 there on replay if they can run it back again.
It looked to me like Kiley was able to keep that one in front of him, but it did rebound far enough back to McClintock that it was an easy play. As we see it right there, that one bouncing almost halfway back to the mound. McClintock doing a good job bouncing off. Kiley continuing to be a really strong presence defensively for the Beavers. Already thrown out MJ Metz earlier on in this one, and then saving a run there by keeping the ball in front of him.
And while we were looking at that, Schaub with a hot shot over to third base, and it just ate up third baseman. So he is aboard. We'll see how that is officially scored. It was a chopper. Should have go down as a hit in my mind, but we'll see if there's a change in that. And Van der Haar stepping in for his second at bat, struck out against McDonald an inning ago.
Yeah, it looks like scorebook not being too friendly to Savage over there at third base. We mentioned hot shot off Met's bat. Unsure how that one was going to be scored. Ultimately goes down as a fielding error. And same thing off of Schaub's bat in that last at bat.
And that one, actually, I'd said third base. They're saying that was an error on Cook at short. So, and then Van der Haar is going to get rung up again. And then not liking the location of it. Trying to get some information as to where that was in the umpire's eyes. He didn't like it. But Tigers play 2 here in the 5th, and they extend that lead back out to 6. We'll be back for the 6th here in just a bit. All right, the line score is incorrect, but the score 11-5 is correct. A little glitch that it just repeats the first inning. So top of the 6th inning now for Babson. And laying down the bunt is going to be Santos. But great fielding job here by the Tigers.
And spending some time out on the diamond earlier this week, getting to watch these guys practice after they came back from Birmingham Southern, a lot of PFP was being worked on. We saw these guys laying down bunts. Some of the smaller aspects of the game, the Tiger coaching staff is harping on some things that they think will be especially important coming down the stretch, but they'll certainly be working on them week in and week out. And Joseph Shavana shows off the fruits of their labor as he comes off the mound to field his position, make that throw. Not an easy play. So we saw Tim Noon early on in this one, all the way back in the first inning, play so long ago where he came off on a bunt and he slipped while he was fielding his position, and the conditions that we have here today in San Antonio, just as cold as it was yesterday, but then you add in the moisture, made the job especially difficult for both sides here today.
Lapham will reach base again. A single sac fly and a ground out. Now he's got a walk to his name. That one on 4 pitches. That'll bring up Yellen in the 3-hole. 0 for 1 with a walk and reaching on an error. He was also hit by a pitch. Yeah, at some point you think maybe one of those pickoff moves for Shavana is going to work. That one coming in pretty close. And actually a really good job by Vonderhaar to keep that in front of him. Now they throw back over. That one less close. Shavana doing a really good job of not letting the runners gain any advantage. That one's popped up into right field. Drifting, and going back on it. Finally making the play out there is going to be Verver.
Verver has his first opportunity to make a play and make a little bit of a difference in this one beyond getting hit by pitches. Obviously, racking up 3 already here on the day. First start of his career, first 3 at-bats, 3 hit by pitches. I think you were right earlier, Josh, when you said that we could probably safely say that no other Tiger has done exactly that to start their career off. But not something I'm sure he'll be particularly proud of. That one is grounded over to Baker at shortstop, deep into the hole. He had to range to his to his right to make that play.
Yeah, Kiley should get a base hit out of this one. Hits this one deep into the gap. I guess maybe you could make an argument that if you set and throw, you've got a chance to get him. So, judging by what has happened to Babson's fielding, some of the decision-making that's been going on, I suspect that probably comes back as an error. Nope, that was a single. Sometimes you just never know what you're going to get. Originally, I thought it was a single. Hit pretty well into the hole. It was going to have to be a pretty clean throw to get the runner. Kiley was running pretty well. Now Barichka, a couple of runners on. Also 2 down here in the 6th.
Pretty consistently, though, today, Josh, it seems like we've been proved wrong by the umpires calling balls and strikes, and also now by the scorekeeper a couple times in a row. A couple of those hard hit balls that we almost certainly thought were going to go down as singles, and that one, which looked to be an error. Everything going exactly the opposite of what we figure right now.
I chalk that up to just how difficult it is to call everything off of a monitor as opposed to being out in a press box and being able to actually see the game in front of you. But you're right. We're batting pretty poorly on the day. Probably get pinch hit here in a little bit. And that breaking ball that comes back in, Britchka didn't like it. The only thing I can think of is the umpire thought maybe it was hanging over the plate far too much. That was almost a hit by pitch, and it goes for a strike. That one's down in the dirt. Lazar doing a good job keeping in front. And here's that breaking ball that came back in. I mean, location looked fine for a strike. It just, we haven't really seen, we go all the way back to the earlier in this game. We were talking about a couple of pitches that came in. I believe it was on Gore, or it was on McDonald earlier, that, he did a good job laying off of a 2-2 pitch that eventually became a ball, and then he walked after that.
Yeah, and having a guy like Barichka standing in, especially after the showing he had at the plate yesterday, fouling off so many close pitches, you would figure that he would at least give an offer. But Shavana turns around, throwing that one, which is no doubt a much better pitch. That curveball starting over the heart of the plate, fading away from Barichka's bat. Not much the Babson Beaver could do but wave at that one and hope for the best. But Shavana continues his strong outing here today, gets out of the jam, strands 2 runners on base, and allows 0 runs there for the Babson Beavers in the top of the 6th. The lead will remain at 6 as the Tigers get ready to come back and step into the box when we return.
Bottom of the 6th when we get started here, but wrapping up in Sherman, Texas, just seconds ago, the Trinity University men's basketball team punching their ticket to the NCAA postseason by defeating Schreiner University. They will play for the SCAC title against St. Thomas tomorrow. St. Thomas in their final year of eligibility as they transfer down from NAIA over to Division III. And so they are eligible for the postseason, but they are eligible to compete for a SCAC title. But that means that the automatic berth for the SCAC will go to Trinity University. And Evan McDonald stepping in, 2 for 2 on the year. He's perfect. And so are Trinity University's men's sports so far into the postseason. Football, men's soccer, and now men's basketball making it. So we're giving some a little bit of hope and maybe a little bit of pressure on this baseball team.
Yeah, especially after they lose as many pieces, such valuable ones too. A couple of fifth-year seniors off of last year's team that are off to bigger and better things. One of them being Rafe Shamet, who's moved up in the baseball world. Transfer, one of many Division III transfers.
He's just down the road from Babson now up at Boston College. Boston College with a couple of players, Babson with a couple of players transferring over to Boston College in the last few years as well. A lot of fantastic schools up in the New England area but particularly for D1 baseball right there in the Boston area, because you've got Boston College, Northeastern, and then, of course, Harvard, and then you've got a ton of Division III schools that kind of round out the entire landscape. No shortage of places to play, which I think also, when you look at how good Babson is year in and year out, is more of a testament to how good they are. Not only recruiting, but just competing every single year. Verver decides to swing at pitch early in the count so he doesn't get hit. So pop out and head back to the bench. Didn't want to make it 4 for 4. Back to the top of the order with Baker. Baker will fly out. I believe that was to right. There are 2 down here in the bottom of the 6th.
Yeah, and after McDonald did a good job to work the count in the opening at bat, just a couple of pitches as Verver flied out on his first. Baker followed suit and did the same. And all of a sudden, McClintock inducing a ground ball to the left side here, but that throw gets away. A little bit of a collision there at first base as Harris collided there with Yellen, who was on the ground momentarily, but luckily at the end of that shot, we were able to see him get up. Harris simply just running out a hard ball on the left side. That throw getting away. Not sure where that one ended up on the infield. That throw getting away from either Perkle or Savage from the left side. Yellen trying to make that grab to record the final out of the inning, just put him in an awkward position, and Harris hit that gloved arm of the Beaver first baseman. But again, glad to see Yellen up quickly over there at first base. But for the Tigers now, runners on the corners, and MJ Metz steps up, still looking for his first hit of the day. He's already walked a couple of times. This last time up, actually, after we had mentioned that hard hit ball went in as an error, that has been corrected. So Matt's now looking for a second hit of the day, opportunity to drive in another run, something that he has already done with a sac fly in his first at-bat of the game.
That also raises our batting average because now we were right on that call. So it's a win-win for me. So Matt's now 1 for 1, batting .500 on the season, throwback over.
And that sac fly actually coming in his second at-bat of the game, Josh. Things do get a little bit convoluted when you come to the plate twice in the first inning. But it was his second appearance in that first inning in which he came away with that sac fly RBI.
Yeah, very big first inning, and Tigers have kind of rode that the rest of the way so far. You know, they've put up a couple of runs here and there, but 8 in the first is kind of what they've been relying on. So you want to see them, you know, if you're a Trinity fan, you want to see them get out and try to do a little bit more here, play to run here in this inning, continue to add to it, because we've talked about it. We know what we've seen in years past. We know that a lead even at 6 runs can fall apart pretty quickly in late innings.
Talking about it earlier on in this one, obviously it's nice to be able to get a big cushion for your pitchers as Metz looks at that one on the outside part of the plate. He gets rung up and he turns around to have a conversation with the home plate umpire. Tigers overall on the day not incredibly happy with the effort that they've gotten back there. Vonderhaar been rung up. We've talked about it a bit in here, the inconsistency from home plate umpire and calling balls and strikes. But that will end the bottom of the 6th inning. Giovanna will be back up on the bump for the Tigers. And we'll be back with the 7th inning right after this.
First pitch in here to Cook is down low for a ball. Top of the 7th inning. That one is fouled back. Down in the dirt. Count showing full, so we'll see where we're at. If Shavana had just worked so quickly through his warm-ups that we're already through, and it looks like we were, and Cook taking a walk. And I think that pitch right there is why you see Metz and Vonderhaar kind of looking back at the umpire every now and then. I definitely thought Metz, the pitch to strike out Metz at the end of the half inning was probably a little bit better than that one from Shavana, but I felt like they were pretty much in the same ballpark. So, one just catching just a touch more. Of course, that's what makes the difference when you're pitching, but two very, very similar pitches. And you can see why a couple of Tiger hitters not really happy with some of the things being called. At the same time, we also mentioned it when we were talking in between innings. Both teams have 5 strikeouts on the day. So it's not like the calls are, making it to where, like, we've got 26 strikeouts between the two teams today. It's guys are going up there and swinging the bats, and they're making contact and putting the ball into play.
Yeah, and even if that was the case and number of strikeouts was run up a little bit, the fact that it is even does help the level of competitiveness in this one. Neither of these teams have been egregiously impacted by the calls of home plate umpire. Shavana misses a little bit wide with that offering. A good idea going back to that breaking ball there, especially in a position where he's already up in the at-bat 1-2. He'll check on the runner over there at first base. Really just keeping him honest with that check.
That'll be a fly out into shallow right. Verber coming in. First out of the inning. Cook will return to first. You look at that line score, you may have think that Shavana started this game, 76 pitches through 6 1/3, but he came in relief back in the second inning, helped shut the door after Tigers went up big 8-1, gave up run in the second and had some runners on, couldn't find the strike zone, and Shavana came in, got the last out of the inning, and has carried his way since then, acting more like a long reliever today, but effectively, just looking like this could have been his start. That's a ground ball, should turn two, and Harris having trouble with it. We'll take it over to first and make something out of it. And we'll keep from getting an error on the play. I think he rushed it originally to try to push it towards a double play situation, but couldn't quite get out of the glove, and then felt rushed on it. Was able to make a good throw over and get the second out of the inning. Now Perkle stepping back in. The Golden Sombrero, 3 Ks and a walk. Shimano checks Cook. Goes to the plate now 0-2.
Shavana so far here today, a little bit different than what we've seen out of the majority of the Tiger pitchers so far on the year. We talked a little bit last night in the opening of this series about the performances from the Tiger starters last weekend. All 3 starters that got the nods in opening weekend play went at least 5 innings and recorded double-digit strikeouts. Cater in the appearance last night rung up 8. Newman in relief was great. He was a real bright spot in the game despite the loss. Overall, he threw 3 innings, allowing just 1 hit, walking 1, and striking out 4 himself. But Shavana in this one, a little bit of a different look so far, having pitched 5 innings. He's given up 5 hits, but he's only struck out 3. Really keeping his defense involved in this game, certainly something that I think is important when considering the conditions. It's cold, it's rainy, certainly miserable out there. And for these Tiger defenders, things get worse when you're just standing out watching your pitcher strike batters out. But for them to be able to be involved in this one when they're out in the field, I think has certainly improved morale for the Tigers here today. Shavana working now with a 2-2 count. 2 outs here. Similar location to some of those other pitches that we've seen called strikes, but that one will run the count full, despite the fact that it ran a little bit back towards the plate. Another offering here with 2 strikes and 2 outs. Opportunity to get the Tigers out of the inning. Shavana will do exactly that as Perkle remains hitless on the day, sending that one on the ground to Jack Baker at shortstop. He fields it easily, making the throw on to Vonderhaar at first, and the Tigers will move into the bottom of the 7th inning after we stretch here in San Antonio. Getting the 7th inning underway here for the Beavers is Griffin Kofsky, newest Beaver out of the bullpen. He'll face Ezra Gore, who's having himself a day in the second game of the series. He was moved to the 4 spot, serving as the cleanup hitter here today for the Tigers, and he's responded incredibly well in that role. He's doubled twice with a couple runners on base. He has 4 RBI on the day, and he's improved his average on the season up to a .316 mark.
Both of those doubles were just line shots into the left center gap.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that's really surprised me after spending some time outside ahead of yesterday's game, and I was briefly out there today. The ball is flying off the bat a little bit better than I think most of us would have anticipated here in San Antonio. Those balls coming off the bat of Gore were just absolutely barreled up, driven deep into left field. Of course, last night it was Metz who was doing the same thing with a couple of balls hit off the wall in right field. It'll be exciting to watch these Tigers hit in some better conditions as the season continues here in San Antonio. Have to imagine the likes of those two getting their bats going. And then, of course, you have Vonderhaar and Brian Schaub, some heavy hitters in this Tiger lineup that are certainly going to make this a fun bunch to watch swing the bat. Should have a lot of power, a lot of pop throughout the entire order for the whole season this year. Something that we talked about a lot in the opening last night as Brian Schaub steps into the plate. He's a guy that hit 14 home runs last year, led this team. And despite that, last night he hit in the 7 hole. Today, he's in the 6 spot. But it really goes to show the depth that this Tiger team has when you can afford to have such a dangerous hitter so deep or so far down on the batting order.
Rocket down the third base line into left field. There'll be 2 aboard now for the Tigers.
It's the 3rd such hit down that left field line. And the 2nd for Schaub here today. We'll see a replay of this one right here. Just a fastball that he gets out in front of. Does a whole lot with that one. Obviously a real heavy hitter for the Tigers. That one coming off the bat real hot for Brian Schaub. Not much that can be done down the line at third base by Savage.
Vonderhaar gets a hold of that one into the right center gap. And bases will be loaded now for the Tigers. Hopefully we can see another look at Vonderhaar's shot into right center.
Yeah, and watching the reaction of some of the guys on base, as you see.
Yeah, I think it just one-hopped the right fielder. Looked like he may have had a chance to make a play on it, decided to keep it in front of him. Now McDonald. Two singles and 2 walks. Been on base all 4 times today. If he does it again, he gets an RBI. Had one of those in the first inning. Back-to-back hits here for Trinity, loading the bases. That's going to miss outside.
I think another thing that can be said about this Tiger roster is the fact that not only do you have dangerous bats in the lineup from top to bottom, you have another handful that are sitting in the dugout that don't have their names called every single day. That really happens to be the case with McDonald. Obviously earns the start in this one, but not a name that we saw called a whole lot last year, especially with the loaded outfield that the Tigers had. Had Brian Shaw, Mason Meredith, and Rafe Chermet out there every single day. Kept a Division I transfer in McDonald in the dugout a lot, but already being utilized more this season. His prowess as a hitter at the plate really showing today. Obviously, a couple of singles coming through and delivering for the Tigers. But he's done a really good job taking pitches that have been out of the zone, as he just did there.
And Kofsky is going to retire McDonald for the first time all year. He's down on strikes. Going to be 2 down. Did a good job keeping the last few pitches elevated. And then just dropped that one a little bit down in the zone, but kind of had that same break from the start. Now Verver, who's, again, not wanting to get hit by a pitch, swinging at the first one. And that will take us out of the inning. So Tigers quickly loaded him. And then Babson quickly out of the jam. And we'll be back for the 8th here in just a bit. Top of the 8th here for Shavana.
Shavana with that offering on a curveball to Santos here in the top of the 8th inning. Excuse the scoreboard for the time being. Shavana trailing in this one 2-1 at the moment. He's been incredibly effective here today, in large part because of the curveball that he's controlled so well. We've seen him be able to throw it for strikes at will, but he's also used it to induce a lot of swing and misses from this Babson lineup. That one getting away from him is that throwing arm falls behind just a little bit and it misses to that arm side.
Santos going down and getting this one into the corner. He's got at least a double. Ferber will get it back in quickly to hold him to just that 2-base hit. Not a bad pitch from Shavana, as you'll see it here. Kept it down low. Santos just going down and getting it.
Yeah, and Santos seeing that pitch 3 times in a row. Although Shavana's been really great with it, anytime you throw the same pitch that many times in a row to a hitter at this level, you have to like their odds to eventually catch up with it and do something nice with it, and that's exactly what Santos was able to do right there. So as Babson trails by 6 here in the 8th inning, they start off well by getting the leadoff runner into scoring position. Now Lapham will step into the box, another left-handed hitter facing the righty in Shavana. Shavana with the long look in, gives the nod to his catcher. That's McNaney, who replaced Lazara earlier in this one. That's Vonderhaar fielding right there, making the throw over to Shavana at first base. And based on their reaction, looks like they'll get the call on another close play. Shavana really hustling over there, looking in, giving that subtle little nod, and you can see the Beaver in the background throwing his hands up and wasn't entirely sure how he wasn't able to beat that one out, but should do the job and move the runner over. That's exactly what it did. Well, perhaps not, as no one comes home to score right there, although that one got all the way back to the backstop, but rebounded enough to McNaney behind the plate. So this one will remain 11-5. That hitter is on third base for Babson. You have to imagine that any ball in play on the ground or anything that falls into play for Yellen right here would score. Santos, who's now over there at third. Shavana deals, coming at Yellen with that fastball on the outside part of the plate. That's not a pitch that we've really seen either side do a whole lot with today. After Mets did a good job going the other way with fastballs in last night's action, we've seen a lot of those offerings just fouled off to the backstop today. A lot of the damage that has been done on balls that were pulled to hitter's strong side in this one. We talked about Gore going to the deep left center field gap a couple times for the Beavers. Manning, who's playing in the outfield for Babson today, did a nice job pulling some right down that right field line. Yellen does a job right there, sending that ball to right field. Verver able to come up with the catch to record the second out of the inning, but looked like that one was deep enough to score Santos. As you see, it was a real close play at the plate, much closer than probably would have been anticipated, as McNaney tried to get that tag down in time, but Santos was in there just ahead of the tag to make this one a 5-run ball game.
Again, those extra runs that Trinity scored after the first inning coming up huge here, because now instead of this being a potential, kind of 2-at-bat situation to get Babson right back into it, Trinity feels like they've got a little bit of a comfort zone. Up 5 as we head to the bottom of the 8th. Shavana, 97 pitches on the day and looking very solid here for Trinity, exactly what they needed out of the pen. And we'll be back here in just a bit.
As we get started here in the bottom of the 8th inning, it's the top of the lineup for the Tigers. 1, 2, 3 hitters due up against Tim Person, who makes his first appearance on the year. A rude welcoming from Baker, who singles up the middle to get this Tigers started as they look to pad their 5-run lead just a bit more. They'll look to get the final 3 outs of this one in the next frame.
Baker now 3 for 6 on the day. Bring up Harris. And Tigers looking to jump out early on Person. Harris 1 for 4. Drew a walk back in the first. Had a single in the 5th. And he'll fly out here for the first out in the bottom of the 8th.
Yeah, and a good job by Person right there, perhaps recognizing that the Tiger hitters coming to the plate here in the bottom of the 8th, eager to swing the bat. Throws the curveball over for a strike right there. And he had Colt Harris just a little bit out in front of it, got a little bit under it, and as we mentioned already, the cold weather, the moisture, and the ball not flying nearly as well as it has here in San Antonio in warmer climates. This Person returns to action, gets MJ Metz to ground out to the right side. Jack Baker will advance.
Fantastic play by Barichka in Person. Just a that's. We might have a double check. That was number 14 over at first base. So defensive substitutions not into the stats just yet, but fantastic play over there from the first baseman. And then Person doing a great job covering that all the way to the end, because it looked like for a second that they were just going to give up on that play. As Ezra Gore steps up. 2 walks, 2 doubles, and a fly out for Gore today. 9 RBI on the day. Has 4 of them, or 9 RBI on the season, 4 RBI on the day. And a runner in scoring position. If he can get a base hit. This one back up the middle. The long throw over from the second baseman. Gore's going to beat it out, and then going home on the play is going to be Baker and the Tigers. Now 12-6 over Babson.
Yeah, and just really heads-up base running right there from Jack Baker, understanding that there's 2 outs on the scoreboard already, moving on first contact, and with the speed of Gore really forcing the infielder's attention in that direction, he recognizes that he's going to have a good chance to come all the way home. That's exactly what he does. Not a particularly close play at the plate as McNaney steps in, sending that one to the right side, that one a little bit dead in the outfield. Hopefully get a replay for you right here. See exactly what happened on that one. McNaney, hard hit ball.
Yeah, nice jumping attempt at it from Lapham.
Perhaps just mistimed it a little bit. Perhaps not even a ball that he needed to jump on. Sometimes make it more difficult on yourself when you're jumping, making more moving parts than there really need to be. Schaub steps into the box here. All of a sudden with 2 runners on, 1 already across. Tigers threatening even more here in the bottom of the 8th inning.
First pitch breaking ball went for a strike, and then second pitch breaking ball, Schaub takes a big swing at and comes up empty. 2 for 4, raising that average now 235. Started 167 on the day. It'll be a little bit lower, 3-pitch strikeout for Schaub. That'll take us to the 9th, where Trinity looks to come in and close it out here in Game 2 of this series. They'll conclude tomorrow at 10 a.m. start time. Trinity softball versus Babson will get underway at 9 a.m. Most of that just because there's one flight out of San Antonio heading back towards Boston. And that one's going to be mostly green with the softball and baseball team taking that. And scoreboard update on the Babson softball game against Schreiner. They've taken the first game 20-0 in the second game, 15-4. So again, Trinity will have their hands full tomorrow. Trinity women's basketball about to get underway here shortly. The Tigers taking on Austin College in the SCAC semifinal. Tiger tennis falling at the ITA National Indoor Championships in the semis to the host Case Western by a 7-1 score. They'll play in the third place match tomorrow. Of course, the men making the NCAA tournament, they'll play for the conference championship. I should get a good look at Matthew Mackey coming in for the 9th. Shavana Day is done. We'll get you a final line on him in just a moment. Elsewhere, baseball-wise across the SCAC, Claremont on top of Centenary out in California, 9-5. They're in the 7th. So Jackson Kelly will step in against Mackey. And we are underway here in the 9th. That one's a little bit outside. Final stats on the day for Shavani. He goes 6 1/3, allows 6 hits, 4 runs, 3 of them earned. Walked 2, struck out 4. Had a couple of wild pitches that pretty much resulted in a couple of the runs that he gave up. Faced 28 batters and threw 100 pitches, 62 of them for strikes. That one fouled off.
It seemed that Shavana came in, and even with that big lead that the Tigers earned for him early on, pitched with a little bit more intensity than some of his counterparts. Recognized that the Tigers had a great opportunity to get a win here today, even up the series. So great showing from him today, and great Tiger pitching continues with Matthew Mackey on the mound here. So he strikes out Barichka for the first out in the top of the 9th, just 2 away.
Yeah, they'd actually subbed Barichka out for Jackson Kelly, and now Cook still in there for the Beavers.
He'll face Mackey, who is in his second year now with the Tiger program. Made appearances in 3 games last year, throwing a total of 2 innings, allowing just 1 earned run on the year, walking 3 batters, striking 1 out. But he'll be another Tiger that we see in this closer position, as that's one of the only roles that they'll really need to fill this season. They lose Matthew Thomas off of last year's team. One of the few big losses out of the bullpen for Trinity. Thomas ultimately led the team with 7 saves last year, throwing 30 2/3 innings with 33 strikeouts compared to just 9 walks on the year.
So Cook takes the walk, and Savage will see if he can get something going here in the 9th. Mackey, that one up and away. McNaney couldn't get to it, and Cook will stroll into second. Manning awaits on deck. We'll see if Coach Noon has any more substitutions here with his team down 6 in the ninth. When we change up the bat, see if you can just get something percolating. Manning on deck, 3 for 4 so far today. Savage looking for his first hit. Reached and scored a run back in the third inning. Called strike, makes it 2-1.
Good job by Mackey right there after falling behind 2-0 in the count. Being aggressive, making sure that he throws a strike. That one skips just in front of McNaney behind the plate. Mackey will trail the count now, 3-1. I think in this scenario, being just 2 outs away from getting the victory here for the Tigers, important to continue to go after hitters, set the tone for yourself early on in the season when you have such a large cushion.
You're going to see a pitching visit here, mound visit from Dave Smith. I don't know if this is to bring anybody else in because you really just need to settle Mackey down. But it's been a short leash for everybody today, and his day will be done. So he's responsible for the 2 on base. And we'll be right back in just a moment. See if the Tigers can get the final 2 outs, or if Babson's got enough to mount a large 9th inning comeback. So in for Trinity will be the sophomore Alex Ben out of Houston. 9 2/3 of work last year, had 2.79 ERA and a 8.38 Ks per 9 ratio. So an opportunity now for the Tigers. See if they got somebody with closer type stuff. So he makes his first appearance on the season.
Yeah, and I believe the bulk of his work last season came in the only appearance that he made here in San Antonio. It's a midweek game, if I remember correctly, against Texas Lutheran, in which he went 5 2/3 innings, allowing just 4 hits, striking out 7. But ultimately, he had the loss hung on his number. But a much better situation that he comes into here today with a 6-run lead.
Yeah, I believe that was a 2-1 final near the end of the year. That's Manning 3 for 4. Watches that one fall out of the zone. Should be 2-1 now.
It immediately has the advantage against Manning as a left-handed pitcher, but Manning, the hottest bat in this Babson lineup, stepping into the box already 3 for 3 on the day, has done a great job and driven some runs in.
Oh, I guess it was 2-2, so now if count runs full. Cook at second, Savage at first. Manning lifts this one. Right field. Going back and not going to get it as Manning's day continues to be impressive. A day for his career, 4 for 5, and add on a 3-run homer here in the ninth to cut the lead to 3.
Yeah, and we've talked about it repeatedly today on the broadcast. Weather certainly not attuned to baseballs leaving the yard, but Manning has been spectacular all day. Gets one over the heart of the plate and turns on it to pull it out down the right field line. So you mentioned the hottest hitter. And for Ben entering this game, the last thing you want to do in that scenario in a full count, you want to try and make a competitive pitch around the zone, but don't want to give the hitter anything that he can barrel. That's exactly what happened right there, and all of a sudden Trinity find themselves in a 3-run ball game.
Perkle into center, and that will be second out of the inning. And honestly, not ideal to give up the home run, but also in a sense, you talk about rally killers. Would Babson have been better off maybe just getting a double in that situation, keeping the excitement going, but still having somebody on base as Ben settles in and gets Perkle out and now faces Santos here with 2 down.
Yeah, it certainly kills momentum, especially when it's followed by a line drive directly at someone, and all of a sudden, after a huge home run, you find yourself facing your last out on the day. For Ben here in this at-bat, really a nice response. Last 2 at-bats, continue to pump strikes into the zone, and now finds himself just 1 away from ending the day and knotting this series at 1 apiece.
That one's going to hit Santos, and another base runner here in the ninth for the Beavers. Kind of exactly what they need, just base runner at a time. Couldn't quite tell if he was almost a check swing on that hit by pitch, but definitely got up on his shoulder. I'll lap him. As he is 1 for 3 on the day. That one shot into left field. It's going to get down for a base hit. Play right in front of Santos, so he'll keep at second. And now the tying run has come to the plate here for the Beavers. And it will be Yellen, 0 for 2 on the day, but batting .333. And that'll be it for Ben. Yes. You see a replay there of the shot from Lapham into left field. And so the Tigers couldn't get out of the second inning without a couple of calls to the pen. They can't get out of the ninth without a couple of calls to the pen. We'll be back in just a second as Trinity and Babson has suddenly become a very interesting ninth inning after the Tigers came in leading by 6. They find themselves with needing to get an out as the game-tying run comes to the plate. So in relief, it's going to be Joel Thomas, and you saw his line score, and not that impressive, 2.2 and 2/3 innings, and gave up 6 hits, 3 earned runs, and a walk versus Birmingham Southern. But Coach Smith wasn't terribly upset with how he pitched. He thought he pitched really well. He gave up a couple of what he considered to be maybe cheap hits that allowed more base runners than you normally would have to deal with, and also was maybe given a couple of questionable calls in that series that went against his way. So Coach Smith was happy with how Thomas came in and pitched, although the ERA is sitting above 10. Last year it was 3.52, and his Ks per 9 was hovering around 10 all year. Josh Yellen steps to the plate for Babson as he represents the game-tying run. And the first pitch in from Thomas is going to be a strike. I know some hitters like to get comfortable. When you got a guy who's averaging almost 10 Ks per 9, I almost wonder if maybe you come out with an aggressive bat, especially after he's just warmed up for a while. Maybe try to come up hacking on that first pitch. We'll see how Yellen takes his approach now down 0-1. Runner on second and first for Babson. It's fouled off. Kind of got up on the hands for Yellen. Now he's really behind in a hole 0-2.
Yeah, just a really great pitch from Thomas right there. Came right back at him with another fastball. That one looked like it had a little bit of run on it. Cutting back onto Yellen's hands. All he could really afford to do was fight that one off foul. As you mentioned, Thomas now in a really, really great position as he comes back with another fastball there in the 0-2 count. And it'll stay there as Yellen forced to foul it off again.
Yeah, at this point, this is what Yellen can do. And now if you're Yellen, you're hoping to fight something off and maybe see if you can float a single out there somewhere. So I don't think you're going to get a pitch that you feel like you can really handle. That one's also just fouled off.
Thomas just continuing to hammer him with that fastball. Most of them coming really middle in to the Babson right-hander. But now really has set himself up after 4 consecutive fastballs to do something a little bit different. That's exactly what he goes to there with that curveball. Unfortunately, McNaney behind the plate can't field that one, but you have to feel like with the way balls and strikes have been called on the game today, McNaney's set up in a different spot. If he catches that one cleanly, that might be close enough to put the cap on this one today.
Runners do advance to second and third, although in the grand scheme of it all, those don't really matter if you're Thomas. That one down and blocked. You can give up both of those. As long as you can get an out, nobody besides those two score. So 2-2. Yellen's done a good job. He fouled off. First 4 pitches of this at bat were all strikes. He fouled 2 of them off after being down 0-2. That one's chopped foul again. Really good job by Yellen changing his approach, going after some of these. That one looked like it might have been up and away. Then it kind of skirted back where it could have been called a strike. Might have still been a touch high, but chopping it down.
Yeah, a little bit difficult to read exactly what that pitch from Thomas was right there. A little bit more movement from the fastballs than we saw earlier in the count, and obviously Yellen well out in front of it.
This one blooped out into center. Coming in as Gore can't make the play. 1 run is in, and the second will be as well. And Babson, not all the way there yet, but it was a 6-run Tiger lead, and they have erased 5 of them. And the little blooper into center gets right in front of Ezra Gore. Really not much he could do about it. He was making a big run, try to make up some ground as he was playing deep. And now the game-winning, or excuse me, not the game-winning, the go-ahead run to the plate here for the Beavers. First pitch, breaking ball, dropping in for a strike. And for Babson, this is number 3.
That's Alex Reynolds, graduate student, make first appearance. Got the opportunity to knot this one at 12 apiece.
Batted 111 a year ago. 9 at-bats with a base hit. That one down and dirty, laid off of it. No, he did not. Called strike. And Reynolds does not like the way that this one ended. And we'll check. I thought Babson scored 2 on that last one. So I believe the final score was 12-11. Tigers get the win regardless. And a much-needed win here as they dropped yesterday 5-4. And felt like they dominated today throughout most of it. A strong 9th inning here for Babson made the score look really strong between the two. But I think it's been indicative of like how competitive this series has been and how close these two teams are. And we'll meet again tomorrow to kind of decide the series. A couple of the replays from the day and a couple of close calls out on the field, out at the plate with brushbacks and wild pitches. And Manning, I'd say, has to be the star of the game here for Babson today. Was 4 for 5, had that 3-run homer in the 9th. Just an unbelievable day for him at the plate. And then for Trinity, I felt like today was a day where I think the team kind of came alive and everybody was doing their part. Ezra was 3 for 4, 2 big doubles, driving in runs, especially early on. Had 5 RBI on the day. 2 RBI from the leadoff spot for Baker. I mean, he went 3 for 6. And then Shavana just, I thought excellent job out of the pen. Did exactly what the Tigers needed him to do as he came through late. You see the upcoming schedule will be with you 10 a.m. tomorrow. Then next weekend with Whitewater, and then we head in. Spring break's already here. So, Luke, your last thoughts, and then we'll close it out.
Well, first of all, I think you have to point to the 12 spot that the Tigers put up on the day, especially after coming off a game yesterday in which they struggled, specifically with leaving runners on base. Finished with 10 runners on in a game. They lose by 1 run, but they put up 12. They come away with a 1-run win here today, but it feels somewhat similar in nature to a lot of the games that we called last year here on Tiger Network. Tigers really just at no point today had the intensity to fully shut the door. You look at the line score and you see the 8 runs that got put up in that first inning, and afterwards you would really think that this is a Trinity team that should really breeze to a victory, but Babson, obviously a competitive team, made it real close there in the top of the 9th. But as you move forward on the year, you certainly are going to ask for Trinity to do a little bit more holistically, to follow up an 8-run first with a little bit more than 4 runs across the next 7 innings. And on top of that, a more competitive outing from your staff. But I think you said it right. The most important aspect of today is the fact that they do come away with a win, knotting the series at 1 apiece, and having the opportunity to come out tomorrow and take the series win after dropping the opener last night.
So 10 a.m. tomorrow, Brian Jensen will be with Luke Terry and call the game for you guys. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Tiger Network, and hope that everybody has a fantastic rest of their Saturday. Take care.